Is Matt Nagy truly the next favorite to be the next Titans head coach? Let me explain and why. Welcome to the first episode of 2026. I'm your host, Jackson Weber. We have a lot to talk about. Your Tennessee Titans are on the road facing the Jacksonville Jaguars this weekend. We have a lot to talk about, some college football, just NFL headlines, and also Titans' new favorite head coach. Let's break it all down. Appreciate y'all tuning into the show. Happy 2026. 2025 ended off with a bang, with number 10 Miami upsetting number 2 Ohio State 24-14. How about Carson Beck taking care of the ball, getting that nice touchdown? How about Mark Fletcher Jr. running the ball efficiently for the second week in a row? How about Miami taking care of the defense side of the ball? 2 interceptions on Julius Sayin. Miami getting 5 sacks and also having 7 tackles for loss. Ruben Bain Jr. was the star of the game with 1.5 tackles for loss and also a sack in this game. He's a favorite in the Titans draft, and I'm going to explain why later on as well. But overall, Miami did a really nice job shutting out Ohio State in the first half, only allowing 14 points in the second half, though. Ohio State did not have enough. They're moving on and facing Ole Miss coming up on Thursday, and we'll explain that coming up as well. How about number 5, Oregon Ducks, shutting out the Texas Tech Red Raiders 23-0. Dante Moore, 234 yards. But how about that run? How about Oregon's defense? How about that running game with Jordan Davidson getting 2 touchdowns on the ground? But Oregon's defense was the biggest story of the day, forcing 2 interceptions on Morton. How about Oregon's defense was the star of the day, forcing 2 interceptions on Morton, getting 4 sacks with 7 tackles for loss. Brandon Finley Jr. with the 2 interceptions of the day. Texas Tech did not look great all game long. They get shut out. That is the second team today who had a bye who lose in the college football playoffs. That's a trend today we're going to be talking about. How about number 9 Alabama and number 1 Indiana Hoosiers in the Rose Bowl, only allowing 3 points to Alabama Crimson Tide. Ty Simpson did not look right in this game. He actually did broke his rib. Prayers to him. Hope everything's all right. Alabama did not get anything going on the ground, but Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza getting 3 touchdowns, but that running game on the ground for Indiana was really what took the stole today. How about Indiana with 6 tackles for loss, man? Indiana just did everything right against this Alabama defense. 38-3 was the final. Indiana will now be facing number 5 Oregon, and we'll talk about that as well. How about number 6 Ole Miss Rebels upsetting number 3 Georgia Bulldogs, the third team who had a first-round bye who lost today? How about Trinidad Columbus with 362 yards passing and 2 touchdowns in this game? How about Kwan Lacey with 2 rushing touchdowns on the ground? Harrison Wallace, the biggest receiver, with 9 catches, 156 yards, and a touchdown. But how about Ole Miss with tackles? 9 tackles for loss, 2 sacks in this game. Gunnar Stockton, 18 for 31, 203 with a touchdown. But Nate Fraser on the ground, 15 for 86. How about Zachariah Branch with 8 receptions for 67 yards and the touchdown today? Georgia's defense, who was top elite of the year, only had 3 tackles for loss and 0 sacks. Ole Miss dominated Georgia. And now looking to next week coming up on Thursday night to start. Ole Miss, number 10 Miami in the Fiesta Bowl on 6:30 Central Time. And how about Oregon and number 1 Indiana on the Peach Bowl coming up on Friday? We will break those games down earlier next week. We have a guest coming on, so I'm very excited to talk about that. Before we move on, how about this stat from Adam Winterberg? Per ESPN research, Alabama has a trail by 35 points or more since 1998 in an eventful 42-6 loss to Arkansas. The Tide have a loss by 30 more points since the 1998 Music City Bowl against Virginia 38-7. So Alabama, first 30-point loss since 1998. How about Fernando Mendoza stunning the Alabama Crimson Tide? All right, so I know a lot of people wondering if Femi Oladejo, Bryce Oliver, and Ali Gay were going to be playing on Sunday. Before we get any of those players, let's talk about who is in, who's out. For the Tennessee Titans is Jalen Armour-Davis, who we knew this week who's going to be out. Mike McCoy said his Achilles. Jefferson with the forearm already knew he was going to be out. Gunnar Helm is a shocking one, though. The toe injury, had a boot walking on in Titans practice yesterday. We reported about Easton Freeze. Now he's done for the year. And then Monty Hooker with an ankle and a toe injury did not practice all week. He is also going to be out. Femi, who did try to come back of his fibula, who is on the 21 practice day window, will be out week 18. Arden Key is also out, and doubtful is Monty Hooker. Bryce Oliver and Ali Gay have a chance to play Sunday per Mike McCoy. We'll find out tomorrow and Saturday to see if those guys will be in and out. Seymour DK is the game day captain for Sunday. How about congratulations to Cody Barton? He had a birth of his son, Blue Joseph Barton. Congratulations to him and his wife. They just had a newborn baby. That's why Barton wasn't at practice this week, was spending time with family. All right, so we can talk about potential mock draft. So if you're picking at number 4 currently today, if you're Mike Borgonzi, this draft day, would you trade back with number 4 with some other team? I'm going to do a mock draft later, and we'll talk about it on Sunday. Would you draft Carnell Tate or draft Ruben Bain from Miami? There's really no right or wrong answer here because there's a good options. You're at number 4, and it matters if the Titans lose this weekend. And I think the biggest question some people have, can the Titans get to number 2 overall in the draft? Yes, they can. If the Jets somehow beat the Buffalo Bills, which I don't think is happening now because Josh Allen is starting, and also the New York Giants beat the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday, then the Titans can move up to 2 or 3. Now, who has the higher odds to win? The Giants. There could be a chance both of these teams sneak an upset. Brady Cook is starting for the Jets. The Titans could slip at number 2 if they lose against Jacksonville. So that's a scenario we're talking about. How big is this Titans versus Jags game on Sunday? Not a lot of people are talking about it. Let me explain why. So the Jags are currently number 3 in the playoff standing as of today. The Texans are at number 5, facing the Colts this weekend. The Colts, who are without Phillip Rivers, who's going to be on the bench. Ryan Leonard's going to be starting. The biggest thing that's going to be a question to me, if the Titans upset the Jags and the Colts beat the Texans, the Jacksonville Jaguars will move down to number 5. The Texans move up to number 3. That can make a big play as the Texans and the Jags could be playing each other in the playoffs. Now, it matters if the Chargers and the Bills are going to win this weekend. There's a lot of playoff aspirations here. It's interesting to keep in mind of who's going to get home field advantage for the first round of the playoffs. The Jacksonville Jags could be number 1. Denver's not clinched number 1 yet. If the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots both lose, then the Jags move up to all the way number 1 if they beat the Titans. Keep that in mind this weekend. If the Jags get the number 1 seed in the AFC, that could be a big possibility as well. All right, so what are 3 positives I want to see against the Titans and the Jags this weekend? So number 1 is Jeffrey Simmons breaking the Tennessee Titans record for Joel Casey's 10.5 sacks in 2013, most as a defensive tackle. Simmons is looking for a sack or more to break Joel Casey's record for the most sacks in franchise history as a defensive tackle. Number 2, Cam Ward consistency. I would love to see Cam Ward with the 6th game in a row with more than 2 or more touchdowns in a game, with 2 or more passing touchdowns in a game. Cam Ward's been hot as of late. We would love to see Cam and the Titans offense to end on a high note. We already know about the defense with them already being banged up and injured, but with this Titans offense, with a lot of players returning next year, it'll be nice to see them end on a high note, especially with scoring 24 or more points on offense. And number 3, seeing Mike McCoy get a win to end off the year. Like I said about Cameron Ward, it would be nice to see him end off the interim head coach year with a win in Jacksonville, which he's been in Jacksonville for 2022 and 2024. It'd be nice to see the Titans get a win, especially for Mike McCoy, especially with the tough year, especially what he's had to work with. It'd be nice to see him get a win on the road. All right, so we can talk about 3 positives. So now we're talking about 3 ways the Titans can get a win in Jacksonville this weekend. Number 1, get to the quarterback. The Titans are 13th in the NFL in sacks with 40. Titans need to make sure they get to Trevor Lawrence. Jahad Ward is looking for his 5th sack. Jeffrey Simmons is looking for his 11th sack of the year. Make sure those guys get to the quarterback, especially with missing Arden Key. We got to see guys like Jalen Harrell, who stepped up in the last couple weeks. Truman Jones is going to be in that rotation role as well to get some reps to see if they can get to the quarterback. Number 2, Cameron Ward being consistent and not turning over the football. Cam Ward is actually Cam needs to do on Sunday is to be careful with the football, make sure you make the right decisions, the right mindset, and end the year off on a good high note. The Titans have also scored 24 or more points in the last 4 to 5 games. I'm looking for the Titans offense to see if they can continue that streak to end off the year, and Cam Ward's also going to be one of the biggest pieces to do so. Number 3, make sure you score first on offense. The Tennessee Titans, I cannot say this enough, have really struggled all year long, starting slow on offense. Even if you're in the red zone, go for it on 4th down. That's one of the biggest things that I look at and I want to see in this game is the Tennessee Titans to score early and to score fast and to make sure they get points early on. They can put pressure to that defense. Last time these teams faced each other in November, the Titans only scored 3 points. The Jags rallied 25-3 at home. Now it's time for the Titans' turn to go score first early, pressure on both sides of the ball, play consistent football. That's how you're going to win this football game. Now we're going to be talking about should the Titans sign Kyle Pitts, yes or no. No, I don't think it's a necessary need for the Titans this year to sign Kyle Pitts. I think he's been inconsistent in and out of his career. I think if the Titans do sign a tight end, they should bring back Chick. He'll be cheap. I think that should be a move the Titans should keep around, and think they want to keep consistency with Cam. Kyle Pitts, yes, he's bigger, he's faster. He's going to ask for a lot of money, especially for the way Kyle Pitts has been playing the last month and a half. He'd probably be asking for $13 million or plus. That's one way, like I mentioned before, not to spend your money. That's probably one move I would not make for the Titans offense. We're talking about my top 5 games of the weekend. Starting on the number 5 is Los Angeles Chargers versus Denver Broncos. I'm interested to see who's in, who's out for Denver. I don't think anybody's going to be resting this weekend. This is a pretty big game. Like I said, if Denver loses, New England or the Jaguars have a chance to be the number 1 overall seed. If Denver wins this game, they clinch number 1 in the AFC, and they will be the clinching home field advantage. All right, starting out number 4 is the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. Another interesting game, a fight for the AFC South. This should be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Riley Leonard versus CJ Stroud. If the Texans win and the Jaguars lose, like I said earlier, the Texans have a chance to be the AFC South champion, and the Texans will be the AFC South champion and be number 3 in the playoffs in the AFC. Number 3, Saturday afternoon, the 8-8 Carolina Panthers and 7-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers to fight for the NFC South. Both of these teams lost last weekend. The Panthers currently have a 77% playoff chance, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a 23% chance. The Buccaneers are favored by 3.5 points. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a blitz rate of 33%, which is 4th highest in the NFL. I think the Carolina Panthers are still going to win with Bryce Young on the road. Number 2, Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers on Saturday Night Football. This would be a good one to keep in mind of. The San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks both have tough stadiums. The San Francisco 49ers lead the season series 1-0. It'll be interesting to see how Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy does play in this matchup. Number 1 game of the weekend is the 8-8 Baltimore Ravens and is the 9-7 Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, TJ Watt, like I'm going to mention, is limited practice for 2 days in a row. He has not been playing since he had the collapsed lung. There's some optimism TJ Watt could be going. I think the Ravens are going to get the win here, especially on the road. I think it'll be a close game, though. 28-24 final. The Pittsburgh Steelers will fall. So Matt Nagy is one of the biggest favorites to be the next Titans head coach, and why? Let me explain. Matt Nagy's had an interesting year with the Kansas City Chiefs, having the 15th best offense in the NFL. And Matt Nagy, if he's not going to call plays, why is he going to be the next head coach? Well, Matt Nagy will be focused on leading a next NFL head team, especially building the right pieces around him. Nagy, who's not been a head coach since 2022, got fired after his 6-11 season. Nagy was NFL's head coach of the year in 2018. He led the Bears to a 12-4 record, but they lost to the playoffs. They finished 8-8 in 2019. 2020 as well. Nagy 6-11 his last year. But there's a lot of issues going around Chicago, especially with leadership of Matt Nagy, play calls with Matt Nagy. Will Matt Nagy get a second chance for the Tennessee Titans is the biggest question. And why is Nagy such a favorite? Well, because one reason is because he's familiar with Mike Borgonzi. Through a quote after Athletic, then Assistant General Manager Mike Borgonzi prepared to become a general manager. He and Nagy talked through scenarios and bounced ideas off one another. Borgonzi became general manager of the Titans in 2025. Yeah. So that's one thing to keep in mind of. Nagy, who, number one, has been struggling in Chicago with calling plays, struggled with Justin Fields, struggling with developing a quarterback might not interest some people. But keep that in mind, he was 12-4. Find is Matt Nagy will not be calling plays if he's the next head coach in the NFL. He will be letting other guys around him be calling plays. And that's going to be the biggest question is in the interviews is that Mike Borgonzi is probably going to ask him, who are you going to build around you? So who's going to be your defensive coordinator, special teams? Who's going to be calling plays? Who's going to be helping develop Cam Ward? Do you guys think Matt Nagy is the right guy to lead a team in 2026 and beyond? I don't think so personally, but that's a thing to keep in mind of is his relationship with Mike Borgonzi might be the biggest thing that might lead Matt Nagy to be the next head coach in Nashville, Tennessee. Let me know you guys' thoughts. But that will be ending the episode. The first episode, 2026, was a banger. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Like, subscribe, share with another Titans fan. We'll see y'all on Monday. Time with TBD. Let's get a dub against Jacksonville Jaguars. See y'all then. Tie it up.